Welcome back everyone. Hope you enjoyed the first video. Hope you learned something. Maybe you can learn me something, a thing or two. That'd be good as well. We're gonna get back into F1 Manager 2023, and let's go ahead and get this first race going. Let's see where this volume is at. Alrighty, if anyone's got any ideas for any cool thumbnail making stuff, profile picture making software, let me know down below. Obviously you could do some things in Paint and some other base stuff, but if there's anything else out there that's a bit more advanced, I'd be down to try and learn. Oh, doesn't sound like the sound is working, so let's go ahead and skip this. Let's double check and make sure our audio, oh, that's why we are down. Here we go. Hopefully you got that now in the ears. Now I see that it auto-saved here, but let me make sure. Okay. So let's open this one up and make sure this is exactly where we want to be. Alright, we're getting ready for round one. Here we are. Let's go to the race. Performance targets tab, make sure we have our performance targets. Yep, okay, so everything's still set from last time. So I did load the right one. Cool. Alrighty. Drivers are still set to develop. Perfect. Let's double check our cars tab. 11 days until our chassis part is done. And let's double check the calendar. Oh yeah, that's right. After this weekend, we start a new period. So as soon as this weekend's over, let's go ahead and start researching or designing, designing a new car part here with the other 5 engineers we still have. Alrighty, let's jump straight into it.
Here we go, folks. F1 returns, starting here in Bahrain.
So I'm going to try to
As we start a brand new season, the slate
get
is
this
wet
season
clean,
done
and all
as
20
quickly as
drivers
possible
prepare to make an
and
instant
try to
impact
start the
ahead of
second
an
in-game
exciting
season,
year.
which in-game would be the
Bahrain
2024
International
season.
Circuit was Formula
And I'm going to
One's
try
first venue in the Middle
to
East, and it's still a
play
count of
through the
favourites.
2024
Dusty,
in-game
challenging,
season in
this desert track is a
conjunction
real
with the
test of
real-life
endurance
2024
for teams
season once
and
it
for
kicks off.
drivers.
So if any of you are
gamble
interested
this
in that, let me
weekend
know.
on
I
a
think
new
I'm gonna
driver.
do
But you
that.
have
So
to
we'll try to
ask,
pump out
will it
these
pay off?
2023 race
Now
videos
let's
as
crack
quickly as we
on
can.
with the weekend.
Get into the 2024 season. I know we got about a week until the new season starts. So let's see if we can knock these out during that time. And so this game does implement the new sprint race weekends. So just be mindful. I forget exactly which Grand Prix host the sprint races. I'm sure some of you know those right off the top of your head, but I do not remember them. So I always kind of look down here just to ensure that there are 3 practice sessions. If it is a sprint weekend, you'll see here it'll just show P1, and then I believe here it goes straight into Q1, 2, and 3 probably. And then Saturday's the sprint racing stuff. So just keep an eye on that. If you do kind of blast through this, I kind of catch myself off guard. And I kind of show you why I kind of pay attention to when the sprint weekends happen, because it is kind of important as far as getting the car set up and then getting your driver comfortable with the car as well as his acclimation to the track. So if we go over here to our sponsors tab, you can see these are our extra targets for the weekend. It looks like, did it not carry our, it doesn't show the targets we set up, so I might have to, I can't go back. I wonder if that messed us up, or if this is just showing me the beginning things at the moment. I'll have to double check this here after we go through a few sessions and see if that changes. From here, obviously, the overview kind of gives you an idea of the weather for the weekend. But if you come over here to reports, I believe... Okay, here we go. So it does give you more information about how kind of the whole grid's doing once you continue on. So let's go ahead and continue here. So every race weekend, here's kind of the main page for the first practice session. You can come here, go to practice 1 and simulate this and just kind of let the system kind of take over things for you. Here you can see the driver's comfortability with the track, essentially how comfortable he is getting around the track. So that's going to increase, obviously, the more we're out on track. How knowledgeable he is with the car in general. We did add some parts to K-Mag's car. Oh no, we did not. We did not. I apologize. We haven't added anything yet, so we're still doing things. So first race, they don't know how the car feels, so let's get them used to it. In the driver preparation tab, so this is kind of the overall rating of these 3 criteria. So the more comfortable they get with the track, the more comfortable they get with how the car is, and then the setup satisfaction, this is going to correlate to down here. We'll come in here in just a moment. But we'll set up the car, so as we set up the car and play around with different things, he will give us feedback. And this percentage value will increase accordingly. And I'll kind of show you how that works here in a moment. But this is the overall cumulative preparation for the weekend per driver. From here, if you click on the compounds, you can see how many compounds we can use during the practice sessions. I personally am not that great at kind of managing which tires and strategies to go on for the practice, so I kind of just use the softs up personally. And if you kind of hover over it, and you can see here that the softs roughly will last us about 39 laps. And you can come down here and see the run plan is currently set for 15 laps. So in theory, we could probably get about 2 run sessions in with the same set of soft tires and have about 9 laps remaining. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to increase this run plan just by 1 lap, just to give us a little bit more time out on track, and give us a bit more feedback from the driver as he drives around. Once you kind of choose the compound you want, and you come on the comp parts, in this tab here, if you have any new parts you would like to fit onto the vehicle, if you haven't already, you can do so here. As I mentioned, we're first race, everything's brand new, so none of these parts are new to us. We haven't designed anything new, I guess I should say. But this is where you would change it. You can see here currently our powertrain units are all brand new. But as we go through the season, we'll be able to see the current percentages and change these out if we need to from here. And we'll go back, and let's come down here to the car setup. So this is kind of the most important part as far as getting the car set up for each driver. And I will say each driver does prefer something slightly different, so just be mindful. You can see here everything's kind of preset to the middle value, and if you kind of hover over one, look down here, it kind of gives you a little overview of what adjusting that particular component does to the vehicle. I try not to pay too much attention. I mean, I guess it does. I mean, obviously these are important, but you'll kind of see as I start adjusting these values, all of these components here are going to change up here. So I've just been playing the game for quite some time, so I just kind of have all these memorized. The front wing angle does change essentially every one of these aspects of the vehicle. The rear wing angle also does the same. It changes every one of these aspects of the vehicle. The anti-roll distribution does not change everything. It mainly focuses on changing the cornering and the oversteer capabilities of the vehicle. So it doesn't change the straights value. So far, the only thing that's going to help us change any value as far as the straights go are the rear wing and the front wing angle. As you can kind of see down here, straights. And straights. And no straights. The tire camber, if I recall, just adjust. Okay, so actually, yeah, it does adjust all 4 here. So it does adjust everything again except for the straights tab. And then the toe out, that's going to just affect the braking stability and the cornering. And I just noticed here, I'm sure some of you may have noticed already, it actually kind of highlights the background here of what it does adjust. So that's actually a little quicker to examine and see. But what I like to do to kind of set up each driver, it's really difficult to tell how they want the car set up from the very beginning. What I like to do is kind of start one driver. I'll start at the top, move him, and just kind of move one left, move one right, move one left, move one right, move one left, and I'll kind of just leave it there. And then I will go to the second vehicle, second car. Again, I'm gonna go on the soft tire, and all these are set to 100%, so I guess it doesn't really matter which one you choose. Let's just choose that one. Let's come down here to run plan and increase his run plan as well to 16 laps. And then let's go into the car setup and get that set. So since I started K-Mag kind of going left with the first value, I'm going to go right with Nico. Let's go left. Let's go right, left, and then right. Oop. So then I didn't adjust anything too much. You can kind of see here which direction that went. I'm not really focused too much currently on these values because this is going to change once we start driving. And once we start driving and then we get the feedback from the driver, then that's where we kind of want to focus a bit more on which one of these we are adjusting. And you'll see why here in a moment. But yeah, I just kind of do that to get everyone set up, just to kind of give them something different to go off of, put them on the same tire, same run plan. And that's kind of it for getting the car set up. And from this, you can still let the rest of the session simulate. I'm not sure if the tire choice and run plan that you set will correlate into the simulation, but I do know how you set the car up correlates. So previously, if you want to kind of play the game a bit more simple, not quite as involved as I like to play, at the beginning of each practice, I would highly recommend at least bare minimum come in here and change the car setup settings. Don't worry about any of the compounds, don't worry about the run plan, but at least come in here, change the car setup, because that is going to help you kind of determine which direction to kind of set the car up for each driver, and you'll see why here in a moment. But what I like to do is I like to manage my first practice session at least, sometimes my second practice session as well, because it will help you at least get the car, it'll help you get the maximum car setup value for the driver. If you come back here and take each practice week, each race weekend, if you come in here and just change the car setup and then simulate this session, you'll get feedback. This percentage will change. Let's just say it goes to 30%. You'll come into here. These little blue bars will decrease or increase, or they'll kind of move location essentially based upon where the ideal setup for the car is. So from there, you can readjust these settings and you'll see kind of get you closer or further away from different values. And then you can come in here, simulate the next session. So you can do it that way. It's a bit more straightforward, but most of the time you're unable to get like a full 100% setup satisfaction with the driver. And if you come in here and do it manually, manage the first practice session as well as the second practice session, usually by the second stint and the second practice session, you can get the driver setup satisfaction to 100%. So let's see if we can do that in here. So let's come in here and manage the first practice session. What I like to do as soon as it loads in, I just send my guys out immediately. You get to watch the little animation, pretty cool. Watch them take the wraps off, sends them out. And I'll send Hulk out just the same. So, in my opinion, I like to get my guys out as fast as possible so it maximizes the amount of time
Radio check.
we're on track.
Good for me too.
Radio check.
Yep, loud and clear.
I love the voiceovers they have with the drivers. So here's the main kind of racing menu. This is what we will see during races as well. Kind of gives us tire information. While we're racing, it will have a different meter here. It'll kind of give us a more of a graph value of how long we have on these tires before our next stint. This is the fuel usage. You can come in here, increase or decrease how the drivers are using the fuel overall. And this is the ERS button section. So from here, in the previous game, there was a overtake and defend option, but now it's just a deploy option. So this obviously increases the lap time significantly, but we are draining the battery quite a bit. I tend to leave my guys in neutral for most of the race. Towards the end, I kind of use the deploy because it does drain. And then once you drain the battery, switch back to a neutral state, you're going to be at a low overall battery level. So then you're going to have to come in here and either top up or harvest to get your battery charged up again. And that's going to obviously, as you can see, decrease our lap time. So just be mindful how you're using the battery as well. This game does make it a bit more challenging because I feel you can get kind of 1, maybe 2 laps using the deploy feature before your battery is completely drained, whereas in the previous game you could probably get 3, maybe 4 laps out of it. So they did make it a bit more powerful of a usage, I guess. But during our practice sessions, you can see here, this is the percentage of the driver's acclimatization to the track. So how comfortable they're getting with the track. From here, you can see how comfortable they're getting with the individual car parts. And obviously everything's base level right now. We can let this go to 100, and then as soon as we put a new car part on, this value will decrease a bit, because obviously some new components are going to be new. They're not going to know how they work, so they're going to need to get back out on track and see how they are. And during our practice session, this is kind of our main important thing. So as the driver is cruising around on track, we're going to get 5 different notifications, and those 5 different notifications correlate to those 5 different settings we initially set up on the car setup. So he's going to give us individual feedback on every single aspect of the car setup, which is really neat. So once we go back into the pre-practice 2 session and readjust the car, we'll see that these values are going to kind of give us a better idea, or his feedback, I should say, is going to give us a better idea to how to adjust the car. So that's pretty neat. Different camera settings, really cool. This is obviously kind of watching it from TV kind of a view, focusing on just the one singular vehicle. And you can come over here, click on the second car, see how he's going along. Obviously you can see DRS is active here. It kind of lights up green whenever he's active. And if you come over here to the track view, every one of these green sections is the DRS zone. And then the line is the DRS detection point. So that's where they're going to be able to pick up DRS if they're within 1 second from the car in front. You can do a cockpit view, really neat. Obviously gives you a much more up close and personal view of how everything's going. I would say it's pretty accurate, it's pretty neat to watch. I would say sometimes it's not quite as smooth as maybe they are in real life, but still pretty neat to watch here. You can watch them downshift, speed up. Pretty cool. If you tab over one more, it shows you the rear of the vehicle. Pretty cool to see. Nice detail on the pipe here. We'll watch the DRS flap open. Pretty cool. We'll watch it slam shut when he hits the brakes here in a moment. Pretty cool. You can kind of see there was a little jarring turn motion instead of smooth, but it's okay, you know. Next view, kind of at the driver's head level, a bit lower than the first cockpit view. Really neat, you can hear the rumble strips when they go over them. Really cool, really cool. Next view. Looks like we're down on the front wing on the right-hand side of the vehicle. Really neat to watch. And you can see he's already given us feedback for one of our car setup functions earlier, so we'll let this ride out for a bit. I'm going to tab over here real fast. I like to look at total laps I'm honestly not too concerned what the interval between the cars are, how fast everyone's going. I mean, obviously it is important, but I know early on this season with Haas, we're not going to be the fastest ones out there. So I just pay attention to how many total laps I've done, because if you remember, I've set up the run time to 16 laps. So I just want to ensure that the 16 lap run time that I set up is going to give us enough time to get this full feedback section from the driver filled out. So we want to get feedback from everything from the driver before he runs out of his run plan. So just kind of be mindful of that if you're noticing that you're not running enough laps to get this to full 5 feedback. Then when you go back to adjust the car, that one last value that you weren't able to get feedback from will be kind of a question mark. You won't really know which direction to take it. So that's kind of a neat feature. Just kind of make sure you got your run plan lined up with, giving you enough time for your driver to give you some good feedback, and he's not running it out too soon. And it looks like we got 16 laps, a quarter of the way there, so it might be tight. Hopefully we're able to get the full 5 on this one. I might have messed it up already. We'll see though. We'll see. Tab over one more. Oh wow, okay. Honestly, I usually just use the over track view, so I hardly ever run through these views. This is a really neat one, obviously inside the helmet. Really cool. Really good. It kind of does give you a neat perspective of how far ahead these drivers really have to look to take these turns. I'm not sure if anyone's ever watched like eye tracking videos of some of these F1 drivers and seeing how far ahead on track they're looking. It's absolutely insane. And then when you try to go out and emulate that, you end up looking closer and closer and closer down in front of you. So pretty neat, just the little differences in some of these, well, not some, but all of these high caliber drivers compared to your everyday Joe or Jan. Alrighty, let's go back here. I'm going to do the overhead track view. So from here, if you go back here to this view, you can kind of see where the start-finish line is. It kind of gives you a different track layout here. But if you tab over to the overhead, it doesn't give you where the start-finish line is. So you have to be familiar with your racetracks to know where the start-finish line is. So I obviously know it's right around here. So we got our guys cruising. They've done 5 laps already. Let's go ahead and speed this up. I usually run at least 4 times speed, 8 times speed as well. I believe you can go to 16. 16 I think is too fast. For practice sessions, I like to run the 4 times so you can kind of see what's happening. When we get into the race, I'll show you. I usually like to run 8 times speed during the race just because the races take a bit longer. So you can kind of speed things up. Especially in some tracks, if you're doing a one-stop strategy, there's obviously a good amount of time in between tire stints, so kind of speeding that up helps us get through. And obviously, if we're trying to hustle this in-game 23 season out, we need to be going fast through the season. So it does look like we're going to be able to get all 5 feedback tabs from our driver filled out before his run plan is up. And if it does happen like that, where he gives us full feedback before he runs that full 16 lap that we set, I pull them in immediately. As soon as they give us that full 5 feedback loop, I'm going to pull them in. So we're going to come down here and we'll call the car in. And that's just going to get us back in the garage as quickly as we can. That's going to get us resetting the car as quickly as we can. And then that's going to get us, get the driver back out on track as quickly as possible. That's kind of how I tackle my practice sessions. I'm not, like I mentioned, I'm not the greatest with, trying to figure out which tire compounds to use, so I tend to just use the softs for half stint of their lifetime. And that kind of gives me enough comfortability. By practice 2, I have the driver and 100% ready to go. And then the 3rd practice session, I will just simulate that, just to kind of speed things up a bit. It looks like K-Mag is almost done giving us feedback here, and as soon as he does, it'll slow the time down and give us a little notification. Pretty cool, so let's let that play through. Let's go ahead and speed this up a little bit. Looks like, of course, it's taking a second. Oh, there it goes.
Anything we can help you with, Kev?
Yeah, that wasn't great.
Okay, so you can see here he's
Copy
not
that.
too happy with the setup. So let's pull him in immediately. And this is going to prompt us. Obviously, we're calling him in when he's only done 11 laps of the 16 laps we set. So this is just making sure we want to do that. So absolutely. And you can leave the driver out on track to fulfill that full run plan. And that's just going to increase the values of how comfortable he is with the track as well as how comfortable he is with the car. But I personally like to bring him in quickly just so we can reset the settings, get him back out on track. So essentially, the quicker we can get him comfortable with how the car is set up, the quicker we can just put him on maybe a medium or a hard and just let him do a full stint and just let him get comfortable with the track. So now he's coming in, you can see. As soon as he comes in, we're going to focus over here and then hit the reconfigure button. And there you go. You can see all those little bars decreased and kind of focused in on the zones that we want to target. So we can see that our cornering is already really great. You can see that the traction and braking stability is good, and the oversteer and the straights are bad. So with these conditions, I've learned through my playthrough on the first game and this game that with this, when something is at the great state, you don't want to adjust it too far away from where it currently is. You really only want it to move it, as minimally as possible to essentially either side of where it currently is to try and target. We're trying to target the optimal level here. So we have bad, good, great, and then optimal. So we're trying to target optimal. If we can get optimal on all of these settings, then we have 100% satisfaction. So let's see. So our cornering is great. On the great tab, we just want to focus on moving it over just a little bit on either side, not too much. On the good, you want to kind of move it over at least double the amount of moving something that's in the great state over. So you want to move it just for reference. So this is braking stability. I'll kind of show you. For the good tab, you want to move it over at least something about like this. Something like this gap or maybe a bit more. That's about where you want to target for the good. For the great, you can kind of see just by moving these, it moves the braking stability over to about somewhere where I actually want to be. And then it does move the cornering over because it adjusts the cornering as we adjust the toe out as well. So it did move it over just a tiny amount. You can see it right there. So that's actually really good for both of these. It'd be nice to just leave it here, but obviously we have to adjust these other things. So as we adjust these other things, these are going to move around. That's where it gets kind of tricky in, moving these around to get all of these in the most optimal state we can. So right now we've adjusted the toe out, so let's leave that there. And these bad sections, it doesn't necessarily matter, I guess, where along this bar you land first, because we're going to narrow it down even further. We're trying to get everything at least in this great state so we can have a very small window to adjust things, so we can kind of really pinpoint the perfect setup for the car. So with these, when something's in this little bad state, I just move it over just to get in this blue section. Because we're going to keep adjusting the car as we go along. So we want to make as minimal adjustments as we can, because it's going to take a bit longer to set the car back up the more we adjust. So if we can do it as minimally as possible, but obviously trying to do it as efficiently as possible, then that's going to be great benefit to us. So I know just from previous experience that straights and oversteer I can adjust pretty heavily with the rear wing angle. And when I move the bar to the left with the rear wing angle, the straights bar is going to move to the right. So let's do that. Let's move it over quite a bit. You can see it moves quite a large amount, but you can see everything else moving as well. So sometimes you can kind of do something like this and be in a really good position to maybe not adjust anything else. Because obviously if we minimize things we need to adjust, we can adjust the car quicker. We're not changing it too much for the driver themselves, so it's not too big of a change back on track for them to get used to the car again. So be mindful of that. So let's leave that. let's try that setting there. And I know from previous experience that the front wing angle, when I move the bar to the right, I'm going to move my oversteer off to the right. I'm going to move my cornering to the right. A few other things are going to change. So let's see what changes, what mainly changes when I go that route. So I'm just getting the blue bar, or I'm just getting the bad settings just into the blue bar just to get us close. And I can see that the grate, so when you have this grate function, you don't want to go any further than this gap here before you start running away from the optimal setting. So just kind of be mindful. This is personally kind of like the biggest gap I would go in getting something to the optimal level from the grate level. But I do see as we did that setting, it pushed our braking stability out a bit. So let's go back here to toe out, because this is going to be the most effective for our braking stability. I'm going to move this back in a bit, and you can see that it's in the good state, so I don't want to be too far away. So I'm going to try to get this a bit closer, but I am moving this a bit closer as well, kind of to where it used to be. So just be mindful of that. Obviously, you want to kind of be close to where it used to be, but not exactly where, because then that setting is kind of not going to be different for the driver. So you want to have everything just a little bit different from what it used to be. So let's keep moving this over. Can we do one more? One more. Actually, let's do this. Let's go a little bit closer here, and I'll show you why in a second. I'm going to go a little bit closer. And I'm going to take this tire camber, because this is going to be the thing that affects our cornering the most. And it moves the cornering and the oversteer in the same direction. So as I move right, it's going to move both of those right. So there we go. And then it pushes the braking stability left, traction left as well. So I'm going to leave everything right here for K-Mag. So I'm not too far away for the good. I'm about where I want to be for the great, not too far away from the good. And I'm just inside the setting for the bad levels here. So we got the car reset. Let's go back. I'm going to keep them on the same tire, same run plan. I'm not going to do anything different, because I'm also trying to keep as many tires as I can throughout the session. So I don't have to, burn through all my tires, and then come race time, I've got used tires to play with. So that's not good. So I got 16 laps run time, and I have 27 laps left on the tire. So that's plenty. So let's leave that there. Currently 16 laps. We're set up. Parts are the same, and we're going to confirm that. You can see here it's reconfiguring now for K-Mag. So that's going to take a minute. I got this in 4 times speed. Let's look over here back to Nico. So he's almost ready as well. So he's taking a little bit longer, just a couple more laps. But let's see how he likes the car set up. And as soon as he tells us, I'm going to call him back into the pit so we can get that readjusted and get him back out on track as fast as possible. So you can see just by doing that, getting everything done as fast as we possibly can, we're already halfway through our session.
Anything we can help you with?
It's not good.
Okay, understood.
So he's not too happy with the car either. So let's go ahead and call him in. We're going to end his runtime early. That's okay. And kind of pay attention to when he comes. As soon as he comes in, try to reconfigure the car as fast as possible, especially if you're running at a faster speed. So you can see, there you go. So actually we have quite a few things that are in the bad level and only 2 that are in the good level. Just from previous experience, I kind of get in the habit of doing my rear wing first, because especially if the straights is bad, that's going to move a lot of these in a large amount. So this kind of adjusts everything a good amount, so that kind of gives us a nice base to kind of adjust the other things to fine-tune everything else. So let's go ahead and focus on our straights tab. I'm going to move it left because it's going to move the straights tab right, and kind of move everything else in a direction we want as well. So let's try to get a bit further in here, and I do push this a bit further away, but that's okay. The traction's further away, that's okay. We're going to adjust that here now. So the traction, the main thing that affects the traction is the anti-roll distribution. This is essentially the ratio of the sway bar stiffness front to rear. So if you want more stiffness in the rear or less in the front, or vice versa. So let's move it to the left, because that's going to move our traction tab left pretty good, and move everything else in a direction we want to go as well. Except for the oversteer, so it is pushing us a bit further away here. That's okay. So now The thing that affects oversteer the most is going to be the front wing angle. So let's use that and push it to the left. But it is adjusting other things, so that's okay. Let's move this about there, I think is good. Okay, so everything is kind of where I want it for the bads, except for the braking stability. The cornering is okay, a bit further away in the good level than I want to be. But I'm going to fix both of these right now, and I'll show you how. I'm going to use just the toe out function. So as I move this to the left, it's going to move our braking stability bar much further to the left while moving the cornering to the right, just minuscule amounts. So kind of move this over to the left while moving this over to the right and getting it at a good kind of happy medium. Kind of see that here as I move it. So it looks like we can adjust this pretty far before we get kind of closer with their cornering level. Actually, let's just bottom this out. Let's go all the way out to 0. This is kind of where I want to be, kind of where we want to be, pretty much where we want to be. Maybe a bit farther in on the straights than we wanted, but we'll see how that plays out as we get back into it. Yep, let's leave them on the same tires and same run plan, so confirm. And now we wait. So now we're just waiting for the reconfiguration process to finish, and as soon as that happens, over here will be the send back out button. So I kind of get everything ready because we want to get back out on track as fast as we can. There we go, and we'll send K-Mag back out. And now we just wait for Hulk to finish up. So as we do this, it kind of resets our feedback counter. Kevin's going to get back out on track. He's going to get more comfortable with the track, more comfortable with the car parts, and he's going to give us some more feedback. From this point, it's tricky to pull him back into the pits, reconfigure the car. We will have to use a new set of tires next time, and then get him back out on track before the session ends. So usually you can kind of get 2 stints out of a practice session. So at this point, I'll just kind of let him run through the whole setup, even if he gives us feedback early before he's actually done with his whole run plan. I'll just let him use the full 16 lap run plan as well. So there we go, Hulk just finished up. I caught that at the last second, so good thing I was paying attention. And let's speed this up a bit here now. Let's go 8 speed, get things moving along a bit quicker. Because now we're kind of getting the hang of where we want to dial the car into. It looks like they're getting more and more comfortable with everything pretty quickly, actually, just for the first practice session. So that's good to see. And yeah, the faster we can get through this one and get some more feedback from the drivers, the faster we can get into P2 and do it again. So I kind of do that same process for both of my drivers for the whole first practice session as well as the whole second practice session. And if you do it right, then usually by the end of the second practice session, your driver will be at a 100% car setup satisfaction level. So that will be good. And then from there, we can just simulate the third practice session and let the computer do it for us. And then we can get into the race weekend setup. So depending on how you do your race weekends, if you do your race weekends like I do with the kind of taking part into practice 1 and 2 and then simulating practice 3, it does take you a bit longer on the race weekends, but you can most certainly simulate each practice session individually while adjusting the car in between each. Or you can just kind of do one setup from the beginning and simulate all the way to qualifying 1. However you want to play, really. But that is going to kind of limit how well you can set the car up.
Balance is good.
Cool, so you can see he's getting much more comfortable with the car. He's got some more laps to go with his run time, which is okay. You can see here, I'm not exactly sure how many laps he has left. But I can see here, I think they come in when there's around 3 kilograms left of fuel. So I know he's got a bit more time out on track. So I'm just going to let him keep driving. We're getting really close to the end of the session here. So I'm not going to have enough time to readjust the car, put him on new tires, put him back out on track, and then be able to get another 5 feedback points. So instead of doing that, I just kind of let him continue on his own, and we'll adjust some more in between the next session. So let's speed this back up. And if you just let this go out without calling the car in, he will just run that 16 lap run time that you set him up for and come back in on his own. So let's see where he's at on his own when he comes back in. We'll see how much time is left. Sometimes you can change tires quickly and bring him back out on track, but if you're not adjusting anything, then that's really only helping them get more comfortable, which isn't a bad thing, obviously. But ultimately, we want to get the car set up as perfectly as we can before the race weekend.
How's your read on the balance and things?
Who's okay?
Okay,
Understood.
so he's in a good state also. But he's got some time left as well, so we're just going to let him keep cruising. And I do see that their tires are starting to get a little bit low, so I'm going to drop them down to the light function.
Just hold back a little bit.
Both of them here.
Yep, copy.
And that's just going to ensure we can get a bit
Slow down
more
now.
Copy that.
tire life out of these sets here. So let's speed this back up. I'm going to go backwards. Oh,
How is
So
the
now-
tire? How is the tire?
Tires, again.
Understood.
so now he's just letting us know that he's not happy with how the tires are. But that's okay. We're not racing right now. We're just kind of trying to get everyone comfortable. So I think in real life, it's kind of good to feel how the car
What about tires?
handles on low tire use.
Copy that.
That's all right. We'll just let them keep going. Let's speed this back up. I'm going to go backwards 2 times. And as soon as they come into the pits, I'm probably just going to let them sit there. We might open up the reconfigure just to kind of see how close we are to the final settings, but we'll just kind of leave everything alone and just let the rest of the time run out here. So let's go ahead and click reconfigure for KMag. Cool, so you can see here, perfect. We've got the cornering and the traction lined up exactly where we want it. The straights were still not that great, and we're getting better with the oversteer and braking. So this is the tricky part, because now, ideally, we don't want to move these at all from where they are right now. But that's going to be nearly impossible because we're going to have to move everything else a bit. So what I'm going to focus on is just the rear wing angle. That's going to move our straights quite a far amount, moving everything else a little bit as well. So hopefully by just doing this, she moves a bit further than I wanted to, unfortunately. So that's okay. So let's leave it there. 2 clicks off to the right. Or I guess I should say 2 clicks left. Moves our setting off to the right, which is where we need to be. So let's try to focus on getting these back to where we want. Now I could come in here and move the tire camber off to the right. That's going to move our cornering to the right, but that's also going to push our traction further away from where we want it to be. I can come in here to the anti-roll and move it to the right, and that's going to move our traction to where we want to be, but it is going to push our cornering further away from where we want to be. So let's see the front wing angle. That's going to move 2 things maybe where we want, but not the other. So this is a tricky one to kind of get right. This is where it gets a little tricky, because you're kind of having to fine tune everything to get these back to the optimal state while having, better and different values here. So let's see if we can do that really fast. Alrighty. So cornering, I actually am gonna, let's try this first. Let's move our cornering back over to the right. I'm gonna go a bit further than where we need to be, because I'm gonna move our anti-roll over, and this is gonna move our traction a really hard amount. So you can see, as soon as I did that, it moved our traction exactly back to where we needed it to be, and I got our cornering pretty spot on to where we needed it to be as well. We're still at a good level for the oversteer. We're still at a pretty good level for the straights. We'll kind of worry about that as we continue on getting the car set up. But you can see we're pushed a bit further out with the braking stability. And if you look closely, it looks like this cornering isn't quite exactly where it was. Neither is this, but that's okay. We're super close on this traction. But this is going to be a bit of a difference. So actually, let's go back over here to the toe out. Move this off to the right. Let's just get inside the blue here. Boom. So just once we get the braking stability just inside the blue, we can see that we're pretty spot on to the cornering being back to an optimal level. So now you can see we've got these 2 functions, or I should say these 2 settings split a little bit now from what they used to be, so that'll be different. And we have the straights set up differently as well, and we're back bang on to where we need to be for our cornering and traction. As you can see, I can't set it right now because we're currently still set up for the 16 laps. But as you can see here, I need a tire that can last 16 laps. So now that we've used these tires twice now for 16 laps, they only give us 10 laps remaining. So now I'm just going to switch tire. I'm just going to go ahead and do this. It's okay if we're not able to get him back on track, but as long as we can get the car reconfigured and ready, then we should be able to get a little bit of, as long as we get it set and ready, then we'll be ready to go for the next practice session. We won't have to change anything else. Let's go ahead and confirm this. And he's going to be finished up right before the session's over, so that's okay. We'll just let the time expire. So here comes Hulkenberg, and let's do the same thing. Since we have a little bit of time left. Alright, so just to ensure we can switch the setup, let's go ahead and switch tires. And then go back to the car setup. So now you can see we're pretty good with 3 things, not so good with 2. So similarly to the last one, but as you can see, these boxes are much smaller as opposed to K-Max. So we're getting, really, really close with these setups for here for Hulkenberg. So let's use the rear wing angle adjustment. I'm going to move the tab over to the right. It's going to move this to the left. And yeah, we'll go from there. So it's probably 2 clicks, I'd imagine. There we go, 2 clicks. So that puts us about where we want to be. And as long as we don't adjust the front wing angle, if we adjust anything else, and mainly if we adjust these 3 things here, this is not going to affect the straights at all. The front wing angle does, but it doesn't affect it too much. So, actually I'm going to use the front wing angle because I do want to get this closer to where we used to be because it is pretty close. This is maybe a tiny bit far away from the optimal setting, as is this. And if we move this to the right, this is going to move our oversteering and cornering over to the right, and our other braking and traction settings off to the left, which is actually kind of what we want, right? So let's get this. Let's go a bit further. Let's go on the other side of this bar here. There we go. Actually, let's go back. I'm sorry. Let's go back. Let's go back to this side of the bar. Because what I want to do is I want to move the tire camber setting over to the right a bit more. That's going to move this to the left and move this to the left, and then also move the oversteer to the right. So let's see if that gets us to where we need to be. As you can see, that's really close. Let's go one more. Boom. So one more. Now you can see that my traction is a little bit different than what it used to be. Oversteer is a little bit different than what it used to be. And if we want, I can even go one more. Let's go one more, just so you can see a little bit bigger gap here. And now what I'm going to do to get this braking stability back, good thing it's on the left because I'm going to move it to the right now. So move this off to the right, and this is only adjusting the braking stability and the cornering settings. So as I get closer with the braking stability, it moves the cornering off to the left, which is okay. So let's try that out. And I think, if I had to take a guess, this might get us to 100% ready. But we won't be able to know until we get into that second practice session, because we're running out of time. It's okay. K-Mag is almost done. I mean, you could put him back out on track, but it's okay. We'll just save the tires. So let's just let this sit here, and actually let's just speed this up to 16 and get this session over with, so we can jump straight into the second practice session, and hopefully by the second stint of the second practice session, we can get our guys set up, ready to go 100%. There we go. Practice done. Let's speed that up again, let everybody come into the pits, and then it will end the session. Here we go. Cool. So from here you can kind of see practice results. Obviously, we're not doing too bad so far. But yeah, we're in the Haas, so I don't really pay attention to how everyone lands in practice. Obviously, qualifying is much more important. And you can kind of see here. So this is our summary. And since we changed the settings right at the last moment before the session ended, we still don't know how they're going to react to those settings. So let's hit continue here. And then obviously the results. So from now you can see P1 results. You can see all these other results as we move through the weekend. Sponsor targets are the same. Let's go back to overview. I'm going to hit continue again. So now we're reset for the second practice session. So first things first, I'm going to come back in here. I'm going to switch to the softs again. I'm going to go back to 16. Actually, let's see, how long do the softs last? 39. You don't want to run them down all the way down. So let's try to do maybe 34 laps total. Gives us 5 laps remaining on those tire. So that'd be 17 laps. So let's go one more lap increase. Here's the car setup. So this is everything how we previously set it up. Now you have an option to revert to the previous setup here, which is his highest satisfaction level, 77%. And that's going to take all these bars. It's going to essentially undo everything we just did. So let's leave everything here. All we need to do is get him set up on the tires and get him set up on the run plan. You don't need to adjust anything here during the practice session, because if you do, then you're going to, well, if you use more fuel, then you're going to put more strain on the engine itself. And obviously if you're using the battery a lot more, then you're putting more strain on the ERS unit. So no need to play around with these or make them run full flat out during practice, because we're just practicing here. You know, we want to bring the car home set up 100%. So same thing for Hulk. Let's go on to a brand new fresh set of softs and change our run plan to 17 lap. And let's jump straight back into it. And I'm going to manage this session again, but obviously you do have the option to simulate if you'd like. And let's get him back out on track as fast as possible. And let's speed this up. Let's go straight to 8 and get these guys going. I'm going to move over to my total laps just so I can, you know, make sure everyone's doing everything we need to do. Let's speed this up a bit more, actually. Let's get this going through as fast as we can. As you can see, they're getting much more comfortable with the track, a bit more comfortable with how the car parts are, and we're getting some feedback tags. Let's see, the tire temperature is increasing a little bit, but that's okay. We're just going to let that go. If we were in the race, maybe we would want to bring his pace down a little bit, just to kind of bring that tire temperature down, but it's okay during practice.
Any comments there?
Here we go.
I think we're quick.
Nice. Good, Kev. Good, Kev. So now that he's given us some feedback, he's only done 11 laps. Let's bring him straight back in and get the car readjusted. And let's see how he likes it. Here we go, coming in fast. So now we're just getting a notification that Hulk's getting his tires a bit too hot, but that's okay. Let's go ahead and reconfigure K-Mag. Look at that. So we're getting really close here. So now this is going to be tricky, because we don't really want to move these much. But this, we don't want to move much either, and we don't want to move this much either. So I'm going to do the front wing angle, because that's going to give us the minimal adjustment on all of these, except the oversteer, I believe. So let's go to the right. So it moves that over a bit. So let's go one more, maybe. Let's try one more. So now we're not too far away from our straights, but we're starting to sneak away from everything else, and up here actually. So let's go back. Can Can we go back? Let's go back 2. Can we go back 2? So let's try this. So I went back 2 from the original setting we were on. Now to get this cornering back to the right, this is going to move to the left, this is going to move to the left, and then this is also going to move us closer to the right by the tire camber. But you can see it's at 3.4, and I think the max is 3.5 degree. So we're not going to have much adjustment. So let's hopefully we can get back in it. So let's max it out, I guess it looks like. So we are really close. So we got the traction pretty much back where we want it, cornering where we want it. Oversteer's maybe a little far away, but hopefully that's close enough. And the braking stability isn't quite back to where it was. But let's move the toe out over 1 and leave it alone. And I think hopefully that's going to get us 100%. So now we're going to do this. And he's on the same tire still. 17 lap run time. Let's actually increase that run time. So we know that we're going to run out of time at the end of the session, right? And with this setup, I think we're going to be really spot on to how he likes it, how he's going to like the car. So let's go ahead in here and see how many. We have 27 total laps left. So let's make our run time, let's do 20 to 22 laps, I would say. So that way he's gets more time out on track. Let's do 21 laps. So that way he gets more time on track, gets more comfortable with the car. I think we got the setup spot on, so we shouldn't need to adjust it. So let's kind of get him more familiar with the track now. So let's confirm that setting. Let's speed us back up, and very quickly Hulk will tell us how he likes the car. Speed us up a little bit further. Yeah, Hulk does take a bit longer than K-Mag, huh? And hopefully that would change.
Does everything feel okay?
It looks like we might have got Hulk dialed in perfectly already. Let's see. And the feedback thing, I think that does get quicker. The better his affinity level towards his race engineer gets. Look at that, folks. How about that? 100%. And that's how you do it right there. You're going to want to manually come into practice and manage them for a few moments. At least practice 1 and 2. To try and target this. So now that he's at 100%, I'm not going to change anything on the setup. Keep him on the same tires. He doesn't have much tire life left, so let's do 19 laps. So he's got 5 remaining. And just put him back out and just get him comfortable with the track now. So it's going to take just a moment. We didn't touch anything. Send back out. We just had to, I think, add some fuel. And there we go. Hulk is ready to go for the whole rest of the session. He is set up 100%. There we go. You can see it. So now let's try to get these as high as we can. And if we can, so the goal here is to try to get the setup to 100% within practice 2. And once we do that, it should be okay if these aren't at 100%, because if you simulate the third practice session, then the computer will essentially get these up to pretty close to 100%, if not 100%. So it doesn't really matter where we end up. Oh, looks like he's locking up. And if that happens, it prompts you up here. We can come up here and watch the replay.
Then.
So let's see what happens.
Take a look now. Let's have a look at the action. It's all at the final corner.
Oh,
And the car
just
locks. By that
didn't
point,
want to get in there,
it
huh?
was just too late.
That's all right. That's all right. Good thing he, didn't damage anything, so that's good. Maybe took a little bit out of the tire life, but that's all right. Yeah, it should be okay if these aren't at 100% by the end of the second practice, because if we simulate the third practice, as long as we have the setup at 100%, they should get those levels up for us as well. So we'll leave it up to the team to run the third practice for us. And let's go ahead and speed this back up. Let's do 16, try to get this as quick as we can. And it's probably going to be pretty close.
Locked up turn 1.
Huh, interesting. Did it again. Let's slow him down a little bit. Maybe take it easy there, Kevin, okay?
Slow down now.
Copy.
All right, let's speed this back up. And let's slow Hulk down as well, so that way, you know, we can get in as far as we can. Usually if it gets down to about 20% tire life and he's still got some laps to go, I'll probably pull them in at 20%, because then it's just, they're just kind of skating out there at that point. There's almost no tire on it, so it looks like K-Mag's almost ready to give us full feedback.
Tires are going.
He's going to let us know that he's
come
not
down.
happy with the tires right now. That's okay. Let's speed back up a little bit, because it's going to give us the same prompt when Hulk gets down to 30%. Look at
Anything
that.
we can help you with?
Here we go, folks. He's super happy. He's perfectly happy. So let's go ahead and bring him back in.
Keep us updated on the tires.
Yeah, so he's...
His tag is, yeah, it's real.
Yeah, it's real. You
Copy
sure?
that.
You sure right, brother. Alright, let's see where K-Mag's at. And he, look at that. 100%. There you go. That's how you get both your guys 100% ready. Obviously, we don't have enough tire life in these tires to go again. So we have 15 minutes remaining, so there is some time to get on track and get a feel for it. So let's just put a brand new set of softs on. They're going to last us roughly 39 laps. Let's just plan to do 30. Obviously, we're not going to run 30 laps because the session's almost over, but that's going to kind of simulate a higher fuel load for us as well, and kind of give the driver more feedback as far as how the parts are reacting and how comfortable he is with the track with a higher fuel load. So let's do that. Gives us 32 seconds to configure, so that should be a quick turnaround. Hulk's still got some fuel left on his stint, so when he's done, we'll probably just let him sit in the garage when he's done. But let's see if we can get K-Mag back out for a little bit. And it does look like Hulk is a bit more familiar with the track, because he's been out there a bit longer to get more familiar with the car setup. So let's see if we can get K-Mag a bit more comfortable with the track. Let's get this sped up a bit here. And let's get him out as soon as we can. Send him back out. And there we go. We're just going to let that run down. So practice 2 is almost done. And Hulk may come in on his own here momentarily, but if he gets down below 20, I'll just bring him in.
The tires are dead.
He's not happy with that, so I'm just going to ignore that for a moment. Let's conserve the tire here, as he's super close to coming back in on his own, so I'm not going to... I don't want to bring him in. Let's just, you know... let's let him skate out there for a little bit longer, huh? I think after this lap he's currently on, he will come back in, so let's just see. And if he doesn't prompt to come back in after this lap, then we'll bring him in. Yep, see, here we go. He's heading back to the garage. So now he's coming back in. We're just going to let him sit in the pits. Actually, let's bring K-Mag up. I forgot I still had him on lower tire usage from the last one. So let's go ahead and do that, increase that, and let's just increase the speed up. And it's okay, we'll just leave Hulk right here. Obviously, it's just letting us know he's going to need new tires before he goes back out, but that's okay because we're finishing up the session just a few moments here. And we're getting, so you can see Hulk's, 3/4 of the way ready on the track, and K-Mag's almost there. Almost there.
That's the checkered flag.
And let's speed it up again, kind of get everyone back in quickly. So that's a quick little rundown, how to get both your guys at 100%. Here we go. So now from here, I'm going to hit continue since there's one more practice session. We're going to hit continue again. I'm not going to change anything here. I'm just going to leave everything how it is. I'm going to come in here to practice 3, and now I'm going to simulate it. I'm going to hit confirm. It's going to simulate it for us. We'll hit continue. Again, doesn't really matter, but it does look like our boys are hanging in there. So we'll see how their first race pans out. So now you can see that they're 100% ready for the track. At least Hulkenberg is. K-Mag's almost there. and they're getting really familiar with all the parts on the car. So hopefully by the end of, and these still increase, these two values here still increase throughout the weekend. So as we go through quali, obviously they're going to get more comfortable with the track as well as the car. So these will increase a little bit throughout the weekend as well. But now that practice is done, we have everything at 100%. Let's get into quali. So you can see here their overall driver preparation level.
Welcome to qualifying. Let's find out if all that practice will pay off for the drivers.
Yes, sir. Let's
Bahrain's
find out.
track is dusty and abrasive, and even under the floodlights, qualifying is tough on soft tires. Teams will need to use their tire allocations wisely.
Now, Karun, how do you think Zhou Guanyu will be as he heads into this session?
They weren't as quick as I expected them to be in practice. They'll want to land better lap times than that today.
Looks like
to
they
earn
got
a
eyes
solid
on Joe,
position
huh?
on the starting grid.
So don't go anywhere, folks. It's nearly time for qualifying.
Alrighty. Okay, so now we'll hit continue. So now we still have an option. So if you didn't get your guys up to 100% readiness, you still have an option to change things. But this is your last chance. As soon as you change anything here, this is going to go back to a question mark, because we're not going to know how they're going to react to it. We won't have a chance to get more feedback. But it still will increase after the Q1 session. So if you're not quite at 100% and you have maybe just a few small things to adjust, sometimes I will take a risk and make those adjustments right before quali, right before the Parc Ferme conditions, to hopefully increase this a little bit higher. But do know, if you do it the wrong direction, there is a chance that you can decrease the overall setup satisfaction level. So just be mindful. But now we got everyone ready for 100%. So let's just simulate all these sessions, and you do have an option to simulate to the race. I like to do it session by session just to kind of see where we land. So let's see how we do. So now we've completed. Let's hit continue, and if we lost a driver or two in Q1, then we'll find out in just a second. Oof, thank goodness. Looks like, there we go. Looks like we're actually qualifying pretty good right now. So we'll go to continue, continue. So now you can kind of see that Nico might have a risk of dropping out in the second quali. It's okay. This is just kind of like a notification, if you will. This is oh, look out, he might not make it into Q3, but that's okay, because I'm actually really happy with this quali so far. So let's simulate the session again, and the big roll of the dice. Oh, too soon. The second big roll of the dice. We lost both of them. That's okay. There's good strong positions to start in. Very, very happy with that. And honestly, that really comes down to getting them at that 100% level. So now let's get into the race weekend finally. What everyone's been waiting for.
The excitement is building. There's electricity in the air, but there's no surprise in that. It's race day.
Bahrain has seen some of the most dramatic races in F1, like Sergio Perez's incredible 2020 victory, surging ahead from being last on the opening lap. There are a few clouds here tonight, but the sky remains mostly clear. Will it stay this way, or will the weather throw a spanner in the works?
But which team has perfected the strategy that will see them prevail here at the Bahrain Grand Prix?
Alrighty. So now from here, I do believe so you can click on results, obviously see how all the sessions went if you want to go back and look. I believe we have, okay, yep, so if you come over here to the sponsors tab, before the race starts, you do have another option to add a new race target guarantee slot. So you can see we missed out on the fixed one, that Q3 that they wanted us to do. Obviously that, it's tough to have, and we were close. Came in, got 11th, that was close. But we got one of them into Q2. So let's see what this is. So from here, we can choose to do another guarantee, and hopefully guarantee that both of our guys will increase at least one position. I'm going to opt to not do this right now because I want to see how they do the first race. Let's hit continue. So from here, this is how we want to set everyone up for the race. What I personally like to do, the first thing that I do is I come down here to fuel. You can see here is already preset to 57 laps. That's how long the race is. I personally like to come in here, give them an extra lap. And the driving options, I will change this now. So now we're in the race start. So I'm going to increase their pace. So this is going to increase the tire pace, I believe, to the aggressive level. And I'm going to increase the fuel usage to the highest level. So that's why I add that extra lap of fuel, because right off the rip, right off the start of the race, I want them pushing the tire to bring it up to temperature really quickly, maybe try to gain a couple of positions if they're sneaky, and I want them to use that extra fuel that I gave them as well to kind of continue that push. I'm going to leave the battery alone. Like I said, I like to keep the battery level kind of neutral for the whole race if I can. Sometimes I'll play around with it, but it's kind of your last, your end-all be-all nitrous button. So use it if you really got to, but I'd be really mindful with playing around with it personally. So now that we've done that, you can come in here and choose a strategy, but I'm going to do those two settings for both drivers first, just to do that and not forget about it. This is kind of what I like to do immediately. Give them one extra lap of fuel, go ahead and put the tires in one extra pace mode, and max out that fuel usage right off the start of the race. So now, let's get the tire strategy going, okay? You could do it a few different ways. You can come in here and hit compound and move around, and you can kind of see which compounds we have available. So these are the ones we used during our practice sessions, and they've been returned to Pirelli. So we are no longer able to use these tires. But what I like to do is kind of just, if you hover over the strategy button and click it, you can see that K-Mag quality 11th, Hulk quality 12th. So K-Mag quality faster, I'm going to put him on the better strategy. So if you click on strategy, you can kind of see the predicted strategies that the game spits out for you. And if you hover over it here, you can see over off to the right, see if I can get my mouse over there, yep. So if you hover off to the right, you can kind of see the estimated race time. So as you move down these, they may change or they may not, oops. Or you can see here, so this takes a full second out of the stint. And you can see that the game is suggesting two-stop strategy kind of wherever you are. And I kind of like this strategy here, because that puts us on a fast tire to kind of push with that extra fuel in the beginning. We can get off of it a little bit early and get onto the medium. And then once the fuel load starts to decrease throughout the race, we got less fuel, we're going to jump back on these softs. But it does look like it's not giving us a full 100% soft at the end. So let me come back here to compounds, and that is correct. So we have 2 fresh sets of mediums, 2 fresh sets of hards, and only 1 fresh set of softs, and the other 2 are both at 83% here. So let's come back in here to strategy. I'm going to edit this strategy. Let's increase our medium stint just a bit longer. So I'm going to move over the lap we switched onto the very last set of softs we have. But that does mess this up. Actually, let's not do that. Let's cancel. Since we have the 2 fresh mediums, can we do a 2 medium strategy? Is that in the book? So let's use this one to start off with. Let's come in here to edit. Let's change this compound to medium, and I think this compound is still set to that soft tire that we have that's not 100%. So just move over off of it and then go back to the soft, and that should give us, it should reset it to that 100% soft set that we still have. So let's do this strategy. You can see our total race time is about what they previously were. So if we move this around, that starts to mess us up a bit, right? So let's come back a bit here. Let's see, can we do a 1-stop? How long do the hards last? I think we can do a 1-stop here, folks. Oh, but it does look like we're going to push our race time back, though. It's tricky because I'm not sure. I feel like this is slightly inaccurate. It's really tough to tell. I think the 2-stop is probably the way to go, though, huh? Because it's really, 13 seconds. That's quite a big difference. So let's add a stint back in. Let's see. Let's do the medium first. Then what about a hard? Or what about a soft first, and then a hard? Let's move the lap we get onto it over here. Maybe here. And then let's go back to a soft at the end, potentially. But we're still not getting it down low enough. So I think the soft, medium, soft's the way to go, huh? I think that's gonna be what we want to do. So that moves it too far over. Too far. So you can kind of see we are increasing a little bit. Essentially, I want to make sure I have as much tire as I possibly can for these last 3 laps, because then we want to push our guys on the last 3 laps and have them make up any time they can. So let's... Oh, I see. That move it over. So it does. So that gives us a little bit more leeway. So let's do this. Let's come in on lap 20. And... yeah, lap 43. So I think this is where we're going to want to be. So let's do that for K-Mag. Leave him here. Let's go over to Hulk. Now let's switch him up. So let's do the medium soft strategy. And it looks like Hulk, not quite 2 sets of fresh softs, but he does have a little bit higher percentage. So that's going to be good. Let's come back into here. It looks like his strategy is going to get us there pretty quickly. So let's, now do we want to do this? Strategy C, soft do the same, but different laps? No, let's do this. So they're different. So we're bringing them in, excuse me, at different times. I'm going to increase this. Let's see if that helps us. So let's give us a little bit more tire at the end of the race. Let's go a little bit further on the medium at the beginning. Okay, you can see it started to mess us up a bit. So let's go back. Maybe go back one more, I guess, as well. Let's just go one. Let's just do 1 extra lap on the second stint here. So let's update that, and that's it. That's how we set everything up. So we've got them extra lap. You can see over here that we've got them going a little bit quicker right off the line. And usually I'll do this for the first 2 laps probably. Unless they get the tire temperature up really quickly, then I gotta slow them down, kind of be mindful of that. But yeah, we're ready to go. So let's get into it. Race start. Race number 1. I know it's a bit longer of a video. I kind of wanted to walk you through the practice sessions, kind of how I do it, to see kind of how you can really maximize how to set the car up as best as you can.
They're in a tight pack starting 9th, so hanging on to points is going to be very competitive.
But there's no more time left. We've got a race on our hands.
Here we go. Let's go, let's go, let's go.
And this
First
is
race of the season. Here we go. Let's see where we end up. We're going to power through this. So race start.
Lights out, and away we go.
There we go. So K-Mag's doing good. What I like to do at the beginning of the race, I kind of like to get in the car with him, you know? Let's watch. Let's see if we can make some ground up over here. While this is happening, let's scroll over here to the tires. I also like to look at what tire is everyone on. So we see that Russell's on the medium. Obviously he's in the Mercedes, so it's gonna be maybe tricky to get past him early on the quicker tire. But let's see if we can stay ahead of Gasly here. Let's see if we can keep Hulk in this group right here as well. Let's see if we can maybe move him up and get him in front of Albon. So I kind of cycle back and forth between the interval tab as well as the tire tab to kind of see what everyone's doing, see where everyone's tire is. So you can kind of play around with the strategy from there. And then the interval shows you obviously how close you are to the car in front. So how close are we getting to getting that DRS zone? Obviously, first 3 laps, I believe, they just changed it for 2024 season. But the first 3 laps of a race start are no DRS. So we'll get DRS here in a few laps. So stay in the car with K-Mag to the end here. It looks like Hulk's staying, or it looks like he dropped a position. It's okay. He's not getting too far behind Albon, and Albon is on the softer tire. So let's see. So we have Bottas here on the medium. So he's going to kind of be the guy we want to stay in front of when it comes to pit stops here. And we want to maybe stay with Gasly as well.
Get back in this fight.
It's alright, Hulk. It's alright. Get back in it. Alright, so now you can see K-Mag's getting his tires pretty warm, so let's drop him back down to standard driving
Slow
style.
down now.
Again, I'm going to keep this fuel level going because you can see we've got quite a bit of fuel to start the race. So I'm going to let this run down to maybe about a ½ kilogram left. And then we'll go back to normal driving conditions. So let's drop Hulk back down to standard tire pace.
Yeah, just go a bit slower.
And
Copy that.
let's start speeding this up. So I'm going to go to 8 at first and kind of keep an eye on these tire temperatures. We're at a, obviously, track in the middle of the desert at nighttime. There's sand all over the place. You can see K-Mag's getting really hot on his tires. So let's take them down a little bit just to get that temperature out of the yellow back into the normal side. I think that's around 114, 115. Yep, here we go. So let's maybe let it get down to 113 or so. There we go. Let's go back to standard. And it's okay if he's dropping P's. I mean, we're still par, right, with where he started. So it's okay. And we've got a bit more tire life than some of these other people on the softs, which is going to be really important when it comes to the pit stop strategy here soon. And it looks like our fuel is decreasing, so let's drop them back down to balance. I got ahead there. Hulk's in a warm position, but let's leave it there for a moment, because he's now, he's hovering right around that medium level. So let's leave it there. Hulk should be getting DRS. Yes. Yeah. So let's let this cruise out for a bit. If you hover, or I guess if you click on this, you can kind of see the graph I was mentioning earlier in the practice session. So you can kind of see where the tire is landing as we're going through the stint. So you can definitely run a light tire usage. Obviously, you're gonna, this is gonna kind of stay above the wear, the predicted wear line, if you're using a lighter strategy. But this is kind of neat to look at. And then this is the optimal lap you want to pit on. The beginning of this little shaded region here, they're gonna prompt us and say, hey, we're inside the window of our pit stop. So once that happens, you can pit anywhere in this window. If you can kind of see this little highlighted section here, you can pit anywhere on this window, with this line being the optimal lap we want to pit on. So you can see K-Mag's gaining a position, which is good. He's pulling further away from Yuki. That's good to see. Hulk is staying with Albon. That's good. He looks like he's maybe pulling away from Norris. So Hulk's going to start creeping up here as everyone on these softs starts to slow down because the tire's wearing down. Hulk's going to start creeping back into these positions. So that's going to be good. We want to keep an eye on that. Magnussen just overtook Hamilton. Interesting. Looks like Hamilton had an issue, though. Or was that Hulkenberg? Oh, it said Magnussen. Interesting. I missed it. Sometimes running it, in a faster speed, you kind of lose track of some little instances that happen on track. It's pretty cool. When they do happen, it gives you a little prompt up here on the top, and you can click on them and kind of watch the replay, see what happens if you do miss it, if you're quick enough. So you can see now this little yellow thing popped up. It means one lap, we're going to be on our window. As soon as that happens, they're going to prompt us to do that. So here you go. The pit window has been entered. Like I mentioned, you're more than welcome to come in and pit immediately if you'd like. I'm not. We're going to stay out here. We're going to stay to the optimal lap. I might come in one early. I might come in on 19. Let's see. So I got K-Mag on the soft, so Yuki's on the softs as well, so I need to pay attention to when he pits and when Stroll pits, because I want to be with that group, essentially. So I see, looks like Stroll and Alonso are up here battling it out. So I'll just be mindful of when Stroll comes in, because he's on the soft tire also. It looks like Yuki's in this lap. So I think coming in on lap 19 might be the ticket. Let's see what Stroll does. Now if Stroll does come in, I'm gonna speed Kevin up and try to pick up some of that pace. So Stroll is staying out. Okay, that's okay. It's okay. Keep Stroll out. I can see Yuki's back here. We still got a good margin. We still got, half the tire life left. And we're still, one lap away. Maybe we should 50% left. Yeah, let's actually go to lap 20. Let's keep an eye on Stroll. Comes back around here. Let's go ahead and put some more fuel into K-Mag. Let's see what Stroll does here. Stroll stays out again. Okay. So we're kind of playing chess with Stroll right now. So this is our optimal lap. We don't know if Stroll's going to pit, but I think we want to pit K-Mag. I don't think we want to take too many chances here, right? So let's go ahead and, so let me show you this again. Oops. Here, let me just pause it so you can see. So from that menu earlier, you can prompt to go to pit options or hit ignore. So from pit options, it has a little arrow of the tire, the next tire on your strategy. So click that. Obviously, if you have two of the same, it doesn't really matter what you click. It's just if you click a different tire, it's going to let you know, hey, this is different than your set strategy. Do you want to do this? But let's keep them on this strategy. So let's go to the medium. And you have an option here. This is pretty cool. In the last game, you had to do it in a different section, I believe. But from here, you can choose to pit them on this lap or the next lap. So I'm going to choose to pit them on the next lap. And let's see how that yields us. So let's go back here. Before I hit play, I'm going to back out. Go back to my time that I want to use. And I see that K-Mag is at 48%. So maybe we do want to bring him in this lap. So let's go back in. Let's readjust this. This lap, medium tire, confirm. And while we have it paused, let's go ahead and increase his tire use. It's going to warm up quickly, so just kind of be mindful of that. And Hulk's getting close as well on his pit stop. Next lap is the window, so let's hit play. And let's see if Stroll comes in on this lap as well. So here we entered our pit window strategy. Copy, speed up, and let's see what Stroll does here. Let's see if Stroll comes in with us. And as he comes in, actually I'll pause it and explain this really fast. Since he's coming into pit, I personally like to leave the tire pace at the aggressive level. Just because when he comes back out on that brand new set of tires, they're going to be cold. We want to get those tires up to temperature as quickly as possible. So I usually leave this at aggressive, and I'll drop this back down to just a standard setting. But obviously, feel free to play the game however you'd like. So I'm gonna leave this here. So it does look like Stroll stayed out. So let's see if we can overcut him here. He might be a bit far ahead for us to do that. But by us leaving that aggressive tire strategy going, that should get us around a bit quicker. So we can see Stroll is starting to slow down quite a bit. I think he's coming in this lap. I got a feeling he's coming in. He's got to. No, oh my goodness, he stayed out. Alrighty, so we may have a chance to overcut Stroll here. Let's deploy a bit here, mid lap. Let's get him deploying, and we can see we got to pay attention to Hulk too. It should prompt us to pit him, but sometimes it doesn't. So be mindful. It'll change here from open to optimal. So we're deploying a bit. Stroll is still out. Let's as we come back around, let's drop this back to neutral, so that way we start. Okay, here we go. Here's our prompt for Hulk. So let's go ahead and go to the new softs, but let's stay out one more lap, okay? Let's speed him up, get him going fast. Let's get him 2 laps at a faster pace, so he can try to build a gap on looks like Russell. So where's Russell at? Russell's here, Hulk's here. So he's a bit far away, but let's see if we can close this gap to Russell, because it looks like he's our closest guy on the same strategy we are. Yep. Cool, let's speed this back up. Keep an eye on K-Mag. Let's watch his tire temp around 120. Starts to get warm. Stroll is still out. We might have a chance here, people. So let's drop him back down to standard. Unless they're gonna have a really fast pit stop. So Hulk's starting to warm up, but that's okay. He's coming in. And I think I forgot to drop his fuel back down, so let's just try to do that right when he comes back out. So we're not just wasting fuel too much, We want to still have some to push him again at the end. Caught that quickly. So you can see here he's speeding up around 105, 106. I think these get warm around 110 if I remember right. The softs do. So it looks like we're doing pretty good. Did Stroll come in pit? I missed it. Stroll pitted. So Stroll pitted. We missed it. And it looked like Stroll might be doing a one-stopper. So let's try to pay attention to that. Maybe we can sneak back up on him at the end of the race here. So we'll let this play out. Let's see. We've got probably halfway or so through the second stint with K-Mag. We're just going to let them go. So I'm going to actually speed it up a little bit more, so we can get through this as quickly as we can. Let's get on that last stint, and then, really finish the race out strong. Let's see if we can. Looks like K-Mag's doing really well for us. Let's see if we can get some points this first race, huh? Doing good, K-Mag. Do good. Okay, Hulk's getting a little warm over here. Just keep an eye out. So 114, 115, I think. Yep, there we go. So we're getting a bit closer. So I see that K-Mag's up to a full K back with fuel, so let's speed him back up. Every time it gets around a full kilogram, I put him back to fast. Let it get back to, you know, half or so. And then put him back to normal. I kind of do that throughout the whole race. I feel like it's a good strategy. And then that usually gives you enough fuel towards the end of the race to just kind of run them all out at the end. Oh, Kevin. Okay, looks like it wasn't too bad. We're still in 8th. We're still in P8. But we're getting close to that next pit stop here. So let's speed this back up. Our pit stop for Hulk is open. It didn't prompt us, so I just noticed it over here. Kind of things change color, so just be mindful of what's happening for both the drivers here. So, what was that, 42, I think, for the next pit stop for Hulk? So I should be mindful, and this will change to optimal, so it kind of will know, you know, it's the right lap to pit on. Then should be the next lap here with Hulkenberg. And it looks like K-Mag is pretty close also. Where is Hulk at on track? Okay, he's right there. So we got both of our boys in the points right now. Okay, now it should prompt us to pit Hulk, but it didn't. So let's go ahead and bring him in to pit on that last set of softs. We do have fresh mediums. Do we take a risk and go on the medium? Just to switch it up? And let's see. 136.9. So let's do this. I just want to see something. So this takes us by a half. So this is a full. So this is a much faster tire, huh? By a whole 0.8 of a second, which is a bit, but it does drop off really hard and really quickly. Oh, we don't have a lot of fuel. Let's stick with the strategy. Let's stick with the original strategy here. All right, we're gonna pit on this lap. So let's go ahead and speed him up again. Get him pushing this last little section here. So now we see we have 15 to go. So we're getting close to the end. Once I make the last stop with K-Mag over here, we'll get this game sped up to the max here and finish the race out strong. So K-Mag should give me a prompt. Yep, here we go. So let's go ahead and bring him in. We're going to his set of softs, which are 83%. But let's go one more. Let's go one more lap with K-Mag just to give us the maximum amount of tire at the end.
You coming in?
Let's actually just speed him up on the tire. And we see that Hulk's in. Let's go up to 2 really fast. Actually, let's go to 4. Alrighty, so now I think we're down 2 positions with Hulk. But he's on a slightly better tire. Let's actually turn this down pretty quickly. As soon as his tire gets in a temperature, let's go back to normal because we don't want to waste any if we don't need to. There we go. So let's leave it there. K-Mag should be coming in this lap. Let's give us a little boost down this last straight here. And go back to normal. So K-Mag's coming in. Let's leave it at aggressive for a moment. So that way he gets the tires up to temp quick on the way out. Alright, so it looks like we'll come out P11 here. Let's get in front of Norris. Perfect, perfect. So now we're on a slightly better tire than Norris, but we do need to get to the end. So let's get this tire up to temp quick and drop back down to standard. So now that we're in standard, I'm gonna go just to 8. I don't want to go quite to 16 because we're getting to the end of the race. I don't want to, go too fast and miss an opportunity that may come up. So let's keep an eye. Let's click back over onto K-Mag to see where he is on track. Let's go back to interval. So we are quite a ways back from Gasly. but we're on a slightly better tire than Gasly as well. We're running a little bit slower potentially. So I'm not sure. We may not get back into the points here, which is okay. I think if we can get our boys back to where they started, I think that should be good. And from here, I totally forgot to mention earlier when you're in the race view. Let's slow it down to 2 really fast while I explain this. So this is your normal view. It's going to automate to kind of this tab here. If you click over here, this is your standings throughout the race. So this is all live, which is really cool to watch. If you kind of rather watch the race this way. It's really tricky though if you're running at a faster game pace. As you scroll down and as people pass each other, it'll kind of reset really fast up to the top here. So maybe if you want to look through this, just kind of slow it down a bit. And you can see here that K-Mag is on par with where we started, and Hulk is actually down a position. So if we can get Hulk to finish ahead of Lando here, get both of our guys finishing where they started, that's great. You know, bare minimum, we wanna go for par. And you can see here, obviously, Constructor Championship points live as they progress through the race. I'm sorry, driver, then constructor, then the fastest pit stop time. And you can see lap history, so our drivers compared to everyone else, you know, who's doing what on which lap. Tire history, you can see kind of everyone's strategies here. Any race events, you know, fastest laps, yellow flags, all that information there. You see our sponsorship and, you know, the reports. And then from here, this is the strategy view. So from here, mid-race, if you do decide to switch to something different throughout the race, you can come in here on either of your drivers, hit edit strategy, and then edit that how you see fit. Also, what I like to do, this is kind of another important tab on wet race weekends. If you come over here to track details, you can see up here it's obviously all clear, just kind of clouds. There's no rain happening. But if there is rain, it will show you up here, and it will show you the percentage as well. So you kind of want to, as soon as the race starts, it's really tricky to tell prior to race start if it's going to rain, you know, or when it's going to rain on the race. So that's where having a good weather station upgraded, so they can give you more accurate forecasts.
I don't see my tips.
Okay, so he's getting a little hot here. It's okay, we've got 4 laps remaining, and we've got, you know, about a K worth of fuel each. So let's speed this back up to 4. Looks like K-Mag's sneaking back up, so maybe we can sneak K-Mag into the points. Let's see. Got about 4 laps to make up 7.5 seconds. It's gonna be a tricky feat. Maybe let's run light. Does that help us at all? Actually, let's keep an eye on this. If I run the light mode, how does that affect? It looks like we are getting a little further away. Let's go back to standard. So Hulk is in front of Norris, but they are battling pretty close. Plenty of fuel. Doing good. So 3 laps left here. Let's see. So it doesn't look like we're going to make it up to Gasly. It's a bit far away. But let's bring the tires back up. Okay, Mag, let's actually drop the fuel back down because we're going to run out here if we're not careful. So Verstappen's going to lap us here, so that's definitely going to ruin our chances of catching Gasly. But maybe, no, I don't even know if Verstappen will catch Gasly by that time. If he does, I'll be surprised, but that will push Gasly further back into us, but I don't think that'll happen. So it looks like we're going to be the first to finish right behind Max here. Too bad
Starting the last time lap.
Too bad it's not a second place there, huh? Alright, let's speed this back up to 4. It's pretty much over here. Since we're on the last lap right behind Max, let's go ahead and use the rest of our fuel here. Same here, let's go ahead and get the tires going. I mean, it's not going to give us too much of a benefit now since we're at the end of the race, but there we go. So K-Mag's finished up.
Okay, that's the flag. Here, left.
And Hulk did finish in front of Norris, so there we go. We got par. That's good. Excellent work, excellent work. It's better than dropping position, so that's
You
good.
hung in there with a difficult car.
I felt it was not a bad effort. Good job, guys.
Good work, boys. Good work. So let's speed this up to 16 and let... I think everybody has to finish the race before we can continue. Here we go. Race 1 complete.
Well, that's another race wrapped up.
Hope you all enjoyed it.
That marked an 8th place finish, which gives them a handful
Finished
of
par.
points.
Got the driver set up 100%. Let's work on getting the guys more comfortable with the car.
Well, Max Verstappen can add yet another
Of course,
podium
it's going to be
his
challenging to
already
get past this
impressive
guy
record.
this season, huh? I have a feeling that might be the theme
And
for
the
this
team
season, but we'll
looking
see.
on will be very proud, I'm sure.
Hope everyone enjoyed the video. Hope
And we
you all
certainly kick things off
kind of
in
learned
style
something about how
here
to
at
set
the
the car up.
Bahrain
Hopefully I
Grand
gave you
Prix.
some good tips and tricks. If you have other tips and tricks that maybe I haven't mentioned or don't know about, please let me know. I'd love to learn kind of maybe your approach to setting up the car. The more comfortable
Now,
you get with
Drew, I'd be
everything, you
really
can
keen to
definitely
know,
just kind of
how do you
simulate all
think
the practice
Haas team
sessions,
will be
but
reflecting on today's results.
totally up to you.
They did okay today, I'd say. I mean, we're talking about such a competitive field, and all things considered, the drivers did all right.
Yeah, okay. Take that, crew. We did pretty okay.
And
We
that
did
is
good.
about that for
We
this
did par.
weekend's action here in Bahrain.
Good work out there,
In the
everyone.
next round, we head to the shores of the Red Sea as Formula One returns to Jeddah for the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix.
Saudi Arabia next. So there we go. Race 1 complete. Obviously, here's the standings. And as this goes along, this is going to change as far as the driver standings and whatnot. So you kind of see where everyone's at. See where everyone's at in the constructors. Looks like Alpine's maybe be our competitor this season. So hopefully we can stay with them throughout the season. We'll continue here. So these are the pit stop results. Looks like Red Bull got the fastest. Where were we at? Oh, this is top 10. I can't look. Okay, 2.9. Oh, we had something happened here on this pit stop as well as this one, huh? That's unfortunate. Raised car, something. Okay, so we'll need to look into that when it comes next to train the pit stop crew, or train the pit crew for the pit stops next. So we'll need to look into their pit training schedule and see about moving some things around to improve that. I can see here, finished 9th in practice, on par for quali in the race. Same with Hulk, I like to see that. Reserve driver, obviously you do have the option to use your reserve driver in the first practice session only, in any Grand Prix you want. It doesn't have to be at the end. You can use them if in every first practice session in one of your cars if you'd like to. Totally up to you. So it really depends on how you want to develop that reserve driver. See our finances, so you can see driver bonuses. Obviously our guys didn't finish in the points, so they don't get any bonuses. Sponsorship payouts. We did get... it's not going to show us. I think so. I think that was the one driver finishing at least 12th. I think this was. Obviously we didn't get to Q3, but that's okay. We did earn a little bit extra from the extra guarantees we made, so that's cool. But that's it. Race 1 complete. Looks like we've got some construction complete. Let's check our inbox real fast and then we'll get out of here. So this is our... Okay, so these are the results from the lower category cars. This is just letting us know the team hub was completed. Oh yeah, okay, so now after each race, kind of another new feature, the car parts throughout the year will degrade and you will need to change them race to race. So just be mindful. And I think you get one of these messages after every single race weekend. So it'll kind of give you a little overview of how everything is performing. If anything is failed in here, you just have to come into the cars tab, click on whichever car has a failed part, click on whichever part is failed, and then just swap that part out. Pretty straightforward process to swap out failed parts, but that's also where, if you remember from the first video on the development tab, that's where the increased weight and the durability of the part focus kind of has an effect. So you get decreased weight, obviously, but you're going to decreased weight also decreases the durability of the product or the part, so you're going to need to swap that out a bit quicker than usual. Hope you enjoyed that. looks like we've got some more research or some design work to start up next time. But we'll start episode 3 with race number 2 and getting into our second design aspect. And hopefully by that time, yeah, it looks like before the second race, we're gonna have that first part we designed ready to go. So maybe we'll do an emergency production and get one on the car for this weekend and see how it performs. Yeah, as always, enjoy it. Hope you enjoyed everything. If you got any cool stories or funny moments while playing this game, let me know. I'd like to know. It's a fun one. Hopefully you get some enjoyment out of everything. And maybe next video too, looks like we got a little bit of money here, so maybe we'll look at it upgrading some facility or two. But yeah, that's it. Have a good one. Catch you on the next one.